Hello, hello everybody, welcome back. We are here with T10 Day 1. A lot has happened over the past few days. We've got our hands on a couple of dreadnoughts. We then also, have been trying to see if there has been an available wyvern in the area. An update occurred, and T10 Day 1 kinda got into a little bit of a fight. So, where do we start? I guess the first thing we should start with is on my main character, I was able to get the hangar modification that was under the celebration store. It would be the assault carrier hangar modification. I then used that to trade for two phoenixes. As you know, I am currently only skilled into um, dreadnought cannons, or capital cannons. So I had no bonuses to my main weaponry. I then got one of those phoenixes set up and ready to move, while I put the other one up on market, and it is still on market. Currently, it is on market for 28 billion, whatever. Hey, Riley, how you doing today? 26 billion, sorry. So, hopefully when that one sells, I'll be able to get my hands on a Revelation. That would be very nice. Then that would give me access to the Naglfar, the Revelation, and the Phoenix, and somehow I'm gonna have to find a way to get my hands on a Moros for this character. So, we got the one of the two Phoenixes set up, ready to go. Yes, Nidhogger will be just fine for doing anything. It's actually the preferred farming ship. If you don't want to get too expensive into higher end stuff, the Nidhogger is a perfect choice. So we then got set up with our Phoenix. We didn't have every module active on it, but decided to just move it anyway. If I died, I died. Um, Maybe it'll give me something to learn about the ship itself. Since I had only ever used the Phoenix Bodyguard in Dormant Realms, I had never actually been in a normal Phoenix before. So, in the process of moving that ship, we came across a gate camp. It was very well planned out, very good fight, but it died. It took a long time, but it did die. So here it is. This fight lasted 40 minutes. Um, Man, there's so much to go over about this fight and think about. The fight lasted 40 minutes. I really could not do anything to any of them. The combination of the Fiend plus the Harbinger. I mean, you can see this is just a wild, wild list of people. But there was a Harbinger, a Fiend, and a Brunix Guardian. So there was just no way I was gonna kill any of them, other than maybe if I got lucky with Fubar or Maybe if I got lucky with the Narius combat, there was a chance. But with the amount of reffing these guys had, and me not having any skills in capital missiles, since I was just trying to transport it from low-sec to null-sec, it just did not work out for me. But it was a good experience learning how well the tank held up. So up here in the top right, it tells you that I took a total damage of 8,640,000 damage over the course of 40 minutes. You don't see that here, unfortunately, but it did last a really good long time. The interaction happened in such a way that the Fiend and the Azazel, and I believe maybe the Tempest Fleet issue, were already on grid. I believe the Tempest Fleet issue and one other ship, the Apocalypse Striker maybe, were cloaked on grid, or maybe warped through, not really sure, wasn't paying enough attention to it, but all I know is it started with a couple of people, and ramped up from there. Not shortly after I landed on grid, where a bubble was already active, because they were actively waiting for me at that gate. The Brunix Guardian and Harbinger Guardian either came through or were already there and I just didn't notice them, but they started up their cycles as I tried to start with the... I believe I tried to start with the Azazel in that fight. Holtzy will be uploading that fight, I believe, in a bit at some point. Good fight, overall. Decided that I couldn't kill the Azazel, so I moved on to some other things. I tried a few different other ships. I tried their Logis, I tried the Tempest Fleet issue, I tried the Marzio, I tried the Hound 3. Unfortunately, that Hound 3 ran away just before I could actually do anything to him. I tried to lock up the Narius combat. That didn't go well. Well played by them, definitely. For the first 20 minutes of that fight, they mostly just didn't do much to me until their friends could finally, catch up with them. There were a lot of people on grid. I say a lot of people. It was like... It says 11 participants, but I feel like there was more than that on grid. Maybe not locked on to me, but there was definitely more than 11 people on grid. So first 20 minutes went pretty okay. They bumped me away from the gate. Good on them. So I had to take a different option, which was aligning out to a different gate, in the hopes that maybe one of those bubbles would run out and I could maybe find a way to kill something so I could jump out. Obviously, I had like a 1% chance of that ever happening. It was such a slim chance of survival, other than me just waiting long enough for my backup to arrive. which didn't go well either. It was kind of a dead period right when this happened. And so response wasn't the greatest, but I'm glad to those who did show up and attempt to help. And I'm sorry to those who lost their ships trying to help me. And I really appreciate all that help. So about 20 minutes into this fight, we're still at this point, they had finally brought me down to about 28% capacitor, but I was sitting there just fine. They had no extra pressure on my capacitor, up until then. At that point, they had reinforcements start showing up. That would be the Marzio, the Apocalypse Striker, the Hound 3, the Oracle, another Marzio, another Oracle, Venarius Combat. So the first thing that really caught my attention is the Marzio from Falcon worked on grid. So I'm trying to remember the correct thought process here. At that time when he showed up, I was already on low armor, or low shield, I should say. So I was starting up my rep cycles when he showed up. And I had let them run, I think, maybe one cycle too long, but that would have been fine normally when I was at 28% capacitor. Because that's what I had been doing for the last however long. However, as soon as that Marzio from Falcon landed on grid, all of my capacitor, poof, gone. It could have been the combination of just extra cap pressure finally breaking that capacitor threshold, my failure to not rep so much, a lot of things happened in that moment, which then dropped my capacitor to 0. With my fit here, the only active modules that I had for the Phoenix were the 2 guard target painters, the Siege Reinforcement module, and the Imperial Navy Capital Energy Nosferatu. The Neutralizer and the other Nosferatu were not active on my ship due to power grid issues. Along with me not having skills in capital missiles, it was going to go wrong eventually. So it really was quite a good fight overall. I gave them something to shoot at for an hour, and they gave me experience on how to maintain my capacitor for extended periods of time without help. It also gave me a pretty good idea of my fit and how much it could handle with my current skills. So not long after my capacitor dropping to 0, my assistants tried to help. They were able to let loose on a couple of ships, but then it quickly backfired on them. And they too lost their ship, so I am super sorry for, your loss. And I really do appreciate your your help in coming to try to help me. I was really trying to hold on as long as possible to see if a larger fleet could be assembled, or if there was any plans in the background that could happen to try to get me out. But it was just hard to come up with a plan with that many people starting to come on grid, and my tank starting to fail. So that would be somewhere around the 30-minute mark is when my actual help started to arrive. After the initial engagement from my help and the loss of that ship, the rescue plan was pretty much called off due to a variety of reasons. For one, there was a threat of a super being dropped, or at least the suggestion of one of these players bringing their super just to end the fight. And of course, nobody wants to throw their ship at the thought of a super being on grid, so I get it. And I don't expect anybody to do that. It was sort of an agreement that it's better to just lose the ship, try to go as long as possible, get whatever information we could. And report whatever information we got out of it. So I held on as long as I could, and right about the time the oracles landed on grid with the nearest combat, that is when my tank finally started to completely collapse. Between not having enough capacitor to keep my 3 invulnerability fields going constantly, it was about 10 seconds in between every time I could activate each one of these, or all 3 of these partners, which gave them just enough time to nuke my shield that little bit faster. And having to be limited by my cap batteries, being that I had to cycle my cap batteries every 30 or so seconds, in between activations, so that way I could manage my capacitor, get my tank back up, get my shield back up, and continue the fight. It was just starting to collapse once everything else started getting on grid. There was more enemies coming to join the fight, and so at that point it was well known to be a loss for me, but it was a good fight. So I salute you guys on your success. Well played on the gate camp. I was really hoping you were not paying attention to the character in the previous system. And just good stuff. All around good fight. This felt a lot better than my fight with Frosty Jack all those years ago. I'm not upset here. The only regret I have is maybe I should have just waited to move the ship another day. But like I said, my attitude at the time was, fuck it, if I die, I die. I can replace the ship it's fine. Worst case scenario, I learned how good the ship actually is. And it performed well. I think I only had like 3 million EHP, maybe 3.5 million EHP, but I took 8 million raw damage on. That is incredible for me. So I'm very happy with the fit. And adjustments will be made throughout time with how the fit actually ends up. This ship was intended to be changed over when I came into my Nullsec home. I was gonna refit it for like capital anomalies and things like that. However, that seems like I'm gonna have to wait a little bit on that, just because I have to get a bunch more modules. So yeah, it's just a little unfortunate. So we're gonna end up delaying the content for the Phoenix or other ships out here for a little bit. Um, Up until things quiet down a little bit. It could be a month or so by the time you guys see another update from this character, or it could be a couple weeks, depending on when Nullsec calms down a bit. So, if I have the opportunity, I want to be able to show off the Naglfar, the Phoenix, the Revelation, and the Morris. And then we'll start looking at the basic carriers. That'll be the Nidhogger, the Thanatos. Thanatos? Oh god, I can't even remember the name of them. Capital ships, carriers. Yeah, so the Chimera, the Nidhogger, the Archon, and the Thanatos will be our next sort of capital ship coverage. After that, we'll look at some of the Lancer Dreadnoughts and then the Bodyguard Dreadnoughts, I believe, along with the assault carriers and the Navy carriers, if we can find the time to actually show them off on stream. I'm pretty excited for this character to have access to these ships. It will take a while to actually make what I need to be able to get my hands on some of these. I already have a few things going on in the background to try to get my hands on some of these other ships that maybe I won't own for a while, but I'll at least be able to show off. But, you know, Nullsec happens. And I guess that's the whole reason for this video. You're not always gonna be safe out here. You could just be trying to move something, And some red decides to log in right as you're moving it, and catches you, and there's not much you can do about it other than fight your way out. And so long as you stay true to EVE Online and EVE Echo's #1 rule, which is don't fly what you can't afford to lose, you'll have a good time. Like I said, that fight, even though I was going to lose no matter what, it was good experience. It was fun. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for joining me. I wanted to get this update out here for you. And fly safe. Thank you all so much for your support, and hopefully this kind of shows you my thought process and what I did to make the most out of my situation. Take care and be safe.